Well, way overdue here. Time for a Star Wars review. Star Wars, the Truce at Bakura. I know, it's been a really long time since I actually did one of these reviews, but I'm reviewing the first Bantam novel on my channel. Well, it wasn't technically the first. It was one of the first. In fact, if you read these chronologically, it's the second one to have the main cast in it. Because, I mean, there's a trilogy, but that's a Boba Fett trilogy. So, the Truce at Bakura takes place the day after Endor. Yeah, that's right. This is the direct sequel to Return of the Jedi. You know what Chuck Wendig is going to reboot in his present tense novel, Aftermath, that no one's really looking forward to at all. So, enough trashing Chuck Wendig. Let's talk about the novel at hand, Truce at Bakura. So, after this destruction of the second Death Star and the wonderful Yub Nub party on Endor, the rebels are essentially cleaning things up on Endor because, you know, the space around that moon is trashed with dead bodies and just, space debris. When they intercept a distress signal from the Imperial outpost on the planet Bakura, which is a planet on the outskirts of civilized space. The people of Bakura are under attack by a race of aliens called the Ssi-Ruuk. And so the rebels decide they're going to go rescue them. And in turn, they're going to try to get Bakura to ally with the Alliance instead of the Empire. So then we end up with the plot where a truce is made on Bakura between the Imperials and Rebels to team up and defeat a common foe. What did I think of the Truce at Bakura? Well, for the most part, I liked it. A few things I didn't like. One, we had no Lando. And if you know me well, you know that I love me some Lando Calrissian in my books. I think he is the ultimate smooth talker of all Star Wars. But they gave an excuse. He was going to Cloud City to, that was, I guess, his deal with the Alliance. He was going to lead that space attack on the second Death Star, and in return they would help him liberate Cloud City, which is fine. Just would have liked to see him in this. I think it would have been even more fun. The next thing, this is like what most Bantam novels are, which is it takes a while to set up. It takes about 100 pages to set up the action and going into the plot. It reads different than what, like, say, Darth Plagueis or Republic Commando Hard Contact, those Del Rey novels. Those are more fast-paced than this. This is one of those books where it just has to set up things. And Kathy Tyers spends a lot of time just kind of setting things up. I mean, not so much because the universe had already been set up, because by then the Thrawn trilogy was out, and that is the quintessential Star Wars Bantam trilogy. So, that was a downside. And then what people don't like about this book are the Ssi-Ruuk. The Ssi-Ruuk are essentially like dinosaurs. I thought of them as velociraptors. They're not quite built like velociraptors, but, you know, it's like Kathy Tyers saw Jurassic Park, because this came out not long after that movie did, and it's like, let's put dinosaurs in Star Wars, which I'm fine with. They're very interesting. They were weird. Like, their whole thing, they had a deal with Palpatine that they could suck the life force out of people and power battle droids with it. And Palpatine they'd split the profits, the product with Palpatine. But of course, Palpatine's dead. Or is he? That's not talked about in this book, but we'll get to that story much later on this road I'm going on. But, so, essentially in the Truce of Bakura, Luke encounters a Force-sensitive person named Dev. And Dev has been brainwashed by the Ssi-Ruuk. So he feels where there are humans, and he directs them to them, and they take them and suck the life force out of them. Dev's a very tragic character, because the Ssi-Ruuk invaded his planet in the Outer Rim. Even though they don't really call it the Outer Rim in this, because that really wasn't a term yet. The Outer Rim, I think, became a term after the Phantom Menace, or it could have been in some West End Games supplement. But from what I deduced, he came from the Outer Rim. No, I have not read. There's a West End Games source book to this, which I have not read, but I'm very curious because it just does a whole lot more with this book. But Dev's whole planet was taken, and they kept him as a slave because of his Force ability. His mother was a Padawan, and never made it to the rank of Jedi Knight because of Order 66, is what you would deduce. But, since this is a Bantam book, they don't have those terms yet. And that's the thing with Bantam books. They don't do the referencing that Del Rey does in theirs. I mean, they'll say, "Hey, remember when blah 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 happened?" and nothing like that. It's and that's about it. It's not like, say, New Jedi Order, where characters from these Bantam books just show up out of the blue, and they interact in the story. Nothing really like that. I think the most you're going to get from that is, like, that Hand of Thrawn duology is the one that's going to recap everything in Bantam, essentially, because that's the end of Bantam. But what were some positives of this book? The whole truce that the Imperials and the Rebels strike up. Very tense. Our main Imperial antagonist is an asshole, and he is just awful. He's very xenophobic. He considers anything other than a human to be either dissected or hunted. I mean, this guy is just a jerk. And so he doesn't like Chewbacca, and he doesn't like anyone, really. And he's very power hungry. And it was interesting. And then there's Commander Thanos, who's essentially an Imperial officer who essentially thinks of Luke as his equal. So he and Luke have some sort of respect for each other, which is really nice to have. Because at this time, the only real Imperial officer that was like that in these Star Wars Bantam books was Thrawn. Where Thrawn was the villain. But I mean, he wasn't like Tarkin, where Tarkin was just a jerk and ruled by fear, or like a Darth Vader or something like that. Thrawn ruled out of respect and was very intelligent and cunning. I mean, we don't get that, which is great from Thanos. But Thanos has an interesting backstory that I'm not going to spoil. And his fate is very fascinating. Of course, what other Bantam book would be complete without Luke's love interest, who naturally he doesn't get with? Gabriel Capson is his love interest. He's a senator, a Bakuran senator, where Bakura has their own senate on the planet, but the Empire controls them. So, I mean, they don't really have free will or sort of any, like, say in things overall, but, I mean, they try desperately to release the Empire's grip on Bakura. And Gariel is very religious and thinks that the Jedi are an abomination and that it was an act of fate that they were slaughtered. In her mind, everything has to balance out, and then you get this sort of, she doesn't like Luke, and then she does, and it's an alright love story. It's not a big deal to the plot necessarily. It's just kind of in there because, Luke got the worst treatment where Leia turned out to be his sister. I mean, that just sucks. That has to just suck. Yeah. He made out with his sister in Empire Strikes Back. That's gross. But, other than that, I really like this book. It's not the best Bantam book, but there are far, far worse ones that I will be getting to soon enough. In the Bantam scale of things, this ranks in the high area. Is it as good as the Thrawn trilogy or Shadows of the Empire? No. Those things are works of genius that we'll be getting to soon enough. But this was a really entertaining novel, and it was fun. The second half was just really, really fast-paced and really good. Like, we're talking 25 to 30 page chapters that I'm just breezing through, and I'm like, oh, wow. But then we get to the downside of this, which is it runs like a standard Star Wars Bantam book, and it's very, very tedious to get through that first half. It's just really, really slow. It just builds and builds and builds and builds. And it doesn't do it the best out of the Bantam novels, but it sure as hell isn't Crystal Star or Planet of Twilight, which we'll be getting to those soon enough. So, overall, what do I give this? 4 out of 5. Pretty good way to start off the New Republic era. And, how do you get this one? Well, I got this hardcover. The hardcovers aren't too hard to find on eBay for this. This is one of the easier hardcovers to get from the Bantam books. But if you're not really into hardcovers, there's a Legends Banner paperback out. And even the regular paperbacks are still in print. They haven't completely switched all Star Wars books to the Legends Banner, but, So, anyway, guys, welcome to what I'm calling the road to Crucible. Disney may have the Journey to the Force Awakens, but I have the road to Crucible. And granted, I won't be directly focusing on all the books up to Crucible. I'll be deviating and going back and reading some other stuff. Like, join me next time when I review Dark Forces, Soldier of the Empire. Have a nice day, guys.